How have you found sharing this movie so far? It's been going around for a month or so. What's it been like?
It's been really exciting. It's been really the audience responses have been, on the whole, incredible, and a kind of wide variety of ages and backgrounds and things that we're responding to, which is kind of all you could wish for.
You and I have talked a little bit about this film representing kind of coming back to your roots in
Right.
film in a way. So it's very fitting that this is how we're starting your retrospective here at the Cinematheque. I wonder how you think of it in terms of the placement of your career, this film, coming off of the Bond films, this being one of your best performances, such an extraordinary embodiment of this character. How do you feel about it?
I mean, it's a retrospective, it's all over. I was just getting going. I only really think about these things when we sit down and have this conversation about what does it all mean, where does it all fit, what is. I suppose it wasn't. I didn't go finding this film. Luca came to me, and you know, I would have done anything Luca wanted to do. That's quite frankly, if he offered me anything, I would have swept the floor for him. But he offered me this movie. He offered me Queer, which was such a kind of, I don't know, just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful challenge to sort of take care. And you know, I said. And I read it, and we talked, and we did all of these things you're supposed to do, and I just went, I think I can get into this. I know I can get into this character, but I'm really looking forward to getting into this character. But I didn't ever think about it. Oh, this fits here because I've done this or I've done that. It really, none of my choices, bad or good, and hundreds of bad ones, have been about, you know, fitting into my kind of where I should be or whatever that means. And I've always tried to go with my gut. I've always just tried to go, this feels right. I mean, I think when I started Bond, I did some movies that I think that I was doing in response to Bond, and I think that's probably a really bad thing to do. I don't think you should ever really do anything in response, artistically or creatively. You should just find something new. You know.
So when Luca comes to you with Queer, what was your knowledge of the book, of Burroughs? I had, for example, when I watched this movie, I knew Burroughs' work a little bit, but after watching the movie, I just kind of want to know everything about this book and the story, because it's a very rich story and how it relates to his own life as well.
Not much, just simple answer. I mean, actually, I read Junkie because I felt like I should read Junkie. It was kind of one of those things that Burroughs was a figure, a literary figure, and it was like if you ever read books, then it should be on the list. And I think I read Junkie because it was short. And it stuck with me, kind of. It was sort of one of those things, but I didn't really understand where he came from, what he was about, and I certainly didn't know this book. Although I had heard of this book, I hadn't read it. And I just did as deep a dive as I could within the time available to get prepared for him. Did the biographies and found out where he came from, and just the history that you kind of sort of stick into the back of your mind that isn't really useful on the day, but kind of is there and is useful, touching most, especially when it comes to finding a voice and an accent and all those sort of things. And then we were really lucky. We spoke to this Burroughs expert called Oliver Harris, who really opened things up in the sense that he said, William Lee is a construction of Burroughs. So he invented all this. This is supposedly 50s Mexico City, but there are many things that are probably grabbed from other places in his life. There's a bar in the beginning of the movie, which is sort of an Austrian bar. We don't see much of it. It's where Lee meets the brilliant Jason as playing Kevin Ginsberg. And it's probably a bar from his time in Austria. It's not in. So that what that did is it just freed me up to go, okay, well, this is a fantasy world. It's a fantasy world of boroughs, so let's have that.
Is that imposing in a way when you feel like you have this whole fantasy world to explore, or does it give you just a lot of room to play?
Room to play.
Yeah.
I mean, and also because you've got Luca, because Luca's vision for the movie, which he has realised, I mean, everything he said he was going to do, he did, is on that screen. It all pays into that. We shot all of the movie in studio, apart from a couple of locations. It's either backlot or in the studio. So at Cinecittà in Rome, which is kind of a magic place to go shoot a movie anyway, with its rich history. And we used all of the old methods from the glory days of Hollywood, sets with false perspective and bits missing where mats were going to go, where the mats are clearly modern CGI that were going to go in later. There was model work, I don't know if you noticed, a lot of model work that says CGI on top to make it look more real, it's painted on, and bits of it move and things. And that was to really give the feeling of that era of movie making, but also to give a feeling of sort of, you know, he was taking all the drugs.
You don't get that sense at all.
I know.
Have you shot at Cinecittà before?
No. I mean, I've shot the road actually 2 or 3 times with Bond, but that's a whole kind of different, different thing.
Did you feel yourself walking through the hallowed halls of one of the great locations?
The best thing that happened is I walked off set, and on lunchtime we walked around with this. We went on the big stage. I don't know the name of the stage is there, but it's and they were shooting a Roman epic. And there was people in togas smoking cigarettes. We're here. This is it.
In the book Queer, William Lee is a pretty irascible, difficult character, and one thing that I know you and Luca worked on was softening him a little bit. Can you talk about that process of bringing him to the screen in a way where he's not only more palatable, he's a much more emotional character as well, I think?
I mean, I didn't purposely go out to soften him. I just think he's kind of both. And I think probably we centered more on the. I mean, we said to each other when we sat down, I mean, I said to him, it's a love story, he said exactly, it's a love story. So that's where we started, and then all of the things which I do think are in the book, and then maybe they kind of, you have to dig into it, but they are there. This searching that he's on, that whatever's driven him, and many things have driven him to Mexico City, he's searching for something, and it appears to be that human connection, that love of somebody else, and finding that person. And so that really, I read a very vulnerable human being in that book, and I just felt that was really the place to put. With all the kind of irascibility, he kind of, he walks around with a gun on his hip, and he's like, fuck you. There's a scene in the movie which may show up one day, where he shoots a rat, and it's pretty graphic. And it's not a real rat, no rat was on the back. But a rat in the rat, if anyone wants to see it, a good relationship with the rat.
Hands after
But that kind of was part of that hardness that sort of maybe that we weren't so keen on showing, but I think it lays into, I can't quite get over how complicated this man is, and the fact that someone gave me a part that complicated to play is, it's like magic.
When it is that complicated, is it live in your head endlessly? Like, how do you sort of work through it, both in the prep, because I know you had several months, and in real time as you're shooting? There's so much going on with this man in every scene, and you play play it beautifully, but it's a lot.
I needed to find an accent, and Burroughs was very particular. I mean, there's a kind of, if you see footage of him, which I watched a lot. Talks. It was very, especially if he was sat here, kind of droning on about, kind of, which is I think, very interesting, because to me, there's this expression, big at the front, big at the back. And I was like, what's going on? What's that about? What's that kind of, and it's also that thing of, the construct of masculinity, the kind of, why is he doing that? Why is he, and then there's these bits of footage which are much more grabbed and much more candid than maybe at his house, where he's just drunk and high with friends. And there was a kind of sparkle that I was just, that's what I wanted to do. He's fun to be around for half an hour.
You were around for much longer than that.
Yes. I mean, and to your point about whether or not how that kind of went in, you take all of that to set, and then there's Luca, and there's Jason Schwartzman, there's Drew, there's Leslie, there's all these incredible people, and you kind of take you go, oh, fuck that, I'm gonna go and play with these guys, because they're what they're bringing, and all of that stuff stays with you. It all stays in your system, but it's nothing to do with what you've been sort of rehearsing and kind of preparing for in your mind.
You mentioned Luca on set, and anyone who knows Luca, I think, knows him to be someone who has this rigorous understanding of cinema, very exacting vision, and he's also one of the most fun, playful guys in the business. So how does that manifest on set when he's directing you?
Well, it's really good for me, because I'm a tight-assed Englishman. And, I kind of walk on sets and who's that? I'm kind of like, I'm so OCD on a movie set, and I have to kind of try and get rid of that. And what I do is I have an old-fashioned iPad that's on a phone that just plays music, and I can just listen to music because I'm fascinated by movie sets. Like they're the most exciting, for me, the most exciting places there are. You've got all these amazing technicians doing things with cameras and painting and things. And I want to ask questions all the time, so I have to kind of not, because I've got a job to do. And then, it's like, what was the question?
Sorry. Luca, take it another way.
Oh yeah, no, and then I come on a Luca set, and there's his monitor, he's sat there, he'll be editing another movie, he'll be designing a hotel. I mean, I'm not kidding, it's like, and directing the movie brilliantly, all at the same time. It's beyond. It's like, multitasking doesn't even come into it. And then there'll be like 5 friends. And you kind of come on, you can go 2 ways, you go, who the fuck are these people? Strangers. Where do you go? Italians smoking on the set, and you're not supposed to be smoking. Fuck. It's just like, and my shoulders dropped, and I just was like, and also on top of that, he's got that amazing thing. They say, what makes a good director? It's someone who knows where to put the camera, and it's as kind of simple as that in many ways. He not only knows where to put the camera, he knows if it's moved 2 inches to the right. He'll come on set, who moved that camera? Or there'll be, someone from props will move something because, camera wants to move it and he's not around because he's designing a hotel. And you'll go, who moved that? And you're like, and for me, that puts me in a really safe space. I kind of get, oh, great, then someone else is dealing with that stuff. So yeah, I just got, I don't know, I relaxed a lot on that film.
Hearing you say that, I mean, the level of detail in the set design in some of these shots is, you can feel that as a viewer. You can feel him making sure that cigarette does not move.
No, right.
So when you get to work with Drew Starkey, you have this really vulnerable relationship that you have to develop. As you say, this is a love story. you connect together? What did that work look like?
We laughed a lot. I think that's really kind of simple. The ayahuasca trip is a complete dance, which we'll be releasing later. We're on tour with. About an hour long. So we had to learn that, and it is a complete sequence that it's obviously cut into, and Lucas took the bits he wanted, but we started rehearsing that about 2-3 weeks before we all went to Rome. And then with Paul and Sol, these amazing choreographers, and we continued to do that all on our days off, at least 2 or 3 hours a day. And I think that, just rolling around with another human being on the floor kind of breaks the ice. In my humble opinion. And he's a really dedicated, mature young actor who is like doing a performance I think is extraordinary, since he doesn't have anything to say in this movie. And what he's having to do is inhabit, listen, and project with very little, and he's doing all of that beautifully. So I just knew as soon as I got in the room with him that we were going to be okay. Your instinct kicks in about somebody. You go, yeah, they're not, whatever, they're not an asshole. Good.
If your energy with him sort of anchors the movie, I feel like it changes dramatically when you get a scene with Jason Schwartzman or with Leslie Manville, both of whom are pretty unrecognizable in this movie. I did like 3 double takes when I was like, oh, that's Leslie Manville. But can you talk a little bit about working with each of them, the kind of book in the movie in some ways, and how they maybe change the dynamics of your performance a little bit?
I mean, Jason, I'm both. I'll start with Jason. I mean, he, is wearing this skin suit and is like, unrecognizable. But his joy of acting and sense of fun and sense of kind of the absurd, which is just why I'm a huge fan of his and always have been, is he just brings that energy onto set. He's so inquisitive. He's so kind of, what does that mean? What are we doing? And you're just constantly, and he sort of we didn't talk much about it because it kind of appeared, this sort of relationship that was incredibly close, and clearly they're best of friends. And we kind of just, hopefully, what I see when I watch the movie is just a friendship that has a history to it, but you're not sure what that history is. It doesn't really matter. And I think that's just a testament to him and just how generous he is as an actor, just to sort of be able to come in and just be there. So, and Leslie is just, I don't know what to say. She's probably one of my favourite actors on planet Earth, and to get a chance to work with her, I mean, it's and have such a laugh. I mean, it's in the jungle taking ayahuasca. That's not what I thought Leslie and I were going to do.
Did you know what her particular look was going to be?
No. Fuck me! No, you look great. No, she just went. In the book, it's a man.
Yeah.
So that was a really brilliant coup by Luca to cast Leslie, and I think that it adds something. She becomes this sort of almost kind of, I don't know, something like that. I don't really words to describe it, but I'm never good at this. Luca's so good at describing these things. He speaks in English and Italian accent, and it's so eloquent. I barely speak English. She comes along at that moment, and she's the guide, and she is that kind of beacon of hope. There's a shot in the movie which is very dark, and it's in the movie, it stayed in the movie, which I'm so happy it did. And it's the moment, and she's looking at us as we're dancing. It's just a moment she just puts her hands out, and for me it makes me, I know why, it gets me every time, and it's just because she's it's all about being seen, and she sees them, and it's like she's our eyes for that moment where they go, oh, they can be together. They can. This is something that, and of course, next day's hangover.
Indeed. So your point about the ayahuasca dance, though, I mean, if you talk about letting go as a country of this movie, there's
Like hamstrings.
there's got to be some kind. You must feel like a little bit. I don't know if nervous is the right word. Sort of strange having to do all that and wonder if it's working.
So describes a career, doesn't it?
So the other side.
It's like what I think about everything, yeah. And the girlfriend, was this gonna work? Shit. Yeah, but you're with Luca, you're in his hands. I was so out of my comfort zone. It's like nothing I've ever done before. I've always harboured a desire to be a dancer. And so there was some kind of thrill in that in itself, and getting to work with choreographers. I mean, the terrible thing, we went to the first day of when we went to learn it, Drew and I, and there was a young dancer there who was from the company who'd learned the dance that morning. And so it's like this. They'd be like, and he sort of kept going and it kept going, and he's like, yeah. I said, you learned that this morning? He went, yeah. And then I spent the next hour trying to learn one arm move, and it's like how the language of, how hard dancing is and the language of it. But what happened, I think, for both Drew and I, is we started talking to each other with the dance. And I'm kind of not going to get too kind of, but it was just, it became a language. And Solomon Paul got us to speak lines or say words as we were saying, doing movements. And I think that really helped us kind of like describe what we were doing. And when we came to do the dance, we'd been rehearsing it, and it was a night shoot, and it's sort of always a bit kind of, but we got to set, it's literally on the hill on the back of Chinchita, which is covered in pot plants. That's the general, sorry, beautiful big pot plants, obviously. And this dirt, which is where we're supposed to do it, and I kind of looked at this and said, we're supposed to roll around this floor, it was covered in gravel, and I thought, we're going to be bleeding by the end of this. So they got 50 pounds of coffee ground and spread it all out so that we've softened it. So we're doing it with coffee ground, which you can absorb caffeine through the skin. You do. If you roll around coffee ground for 4 hours.
That's the way to learn it.
But we did it, and we did it in sections, and we filmed it, and Luca, we shot it at very, very high speed so that he could ramp up and ramp down, and get as much information into the camera as possible. And then at the end of it, we shot it on a wide and did the whole dance. And the group burst into applause, which was kind of like, oh wow, we did it. So, there might be being kind, but it seemed spontaneous.
Yeah. So I got the chance to interview Drew a little while back, and he mentioned feeling a little nervous and secure about working with Daniel Craig in a movie like this. And it made me think about Love is the Devil.
How nervous and insecure I was. Yes.
It made me think about Love is the Devil.
Yeah.
So you're doing a pivot here.
Yeah, I've got you. I just ruined it. Oh God, should we do that again?
No. Because in this film, you're a younger actor and you're working with Derek Jacobi.
Yep.
How did you feel about that?
It was one of those situations. I like to say, I knew exactly who Francis Bacon was. I knew Derek Jacobi really well, and I didn't know any of these people really well. I was this young, arrogant, annoying actor. And John Mabry got me in to shoot this movie, and the story is Mary Selway was a late great casting director who was one of those people in the business. Anybody will tell you who had any success. There's always a couple of people you just can point to and go, they're the people that got me where I am. And Mary Selway is one of those people. And I got offered this part, and I don't think there was much of a script. There really wasn't much of a script. It was mainly about the visuals, and I said, really, this is me, young, arrogant, stupid. That's just and all I remember is Mary saying, "You've got to do it, you've got to do it, you've got to do it," because she had faith in John. She knew it was John Matheson was shooting it. It was like I had all of these things that were going on that I just wasn't aware of. That I didn't. Were not on my radar. Why would I kind of know that this is it going to be important? And I wasn't replying. I kept ignoring her, and then like literally, I think I went out on Saturday night. I came home about 4 o'clock in the morning, and like 2.5 hours later, my phone rang. And I went, "Oh, hello, Daniel, it's Mary." And I went, "Yes, do the film." And I went, "Okay, Mary, okay. And then I put the phone down and just like that's why I did the film. And John and it was a kind of a beautiful, spectacular ride. We had no money. I mean, no money. John Matheson had just shot with John a music video with Sinead O'Connor and Chris Christopherson. And all the lenses from that is what shot Blood of the Devil. And Panavision kept on calling up once, "Can you have a lenses back?" And then eventually we had to stop giving lenses back. And by the end of the movie, we were shooting on one lens. And the other thing was the Marlborough Gallery, who owned Bacon's, most of his pictures, you needed permission of them to use his paintings. And there was a move to use his paintings, and they went, "Oh, they were piddly BBC movie, won't do that." So we got young artists from the Slade College of Art who were literally painting off stage, like literally, on the sound stage with us all day. These huge Bacon canvases, all of which we had to burn, of course, because they constitute looked at as forgeries. But they painted all these Bacons that were leaning against the walls. So the half-done paintings were all sort of done by these Slade students who were doing that. Of course, when the movie started coming out, the buzz started happening around it. The Marlborough Gallery said, "No, you can have the paintings." Like, we're too late now, we've done it. So, and then we were doing all these in-camera techniques, or in-camera special effects that John was doing, and it's all, there's one digital shot in it, I think, which I'm careful, I'll make you guess which one it is. But it's, it's really, it was a magic kind of time. And I do remember there's a moment where I'm one of Bacon's flayed men, which required me to be covered in what amounts to surgical glue from head to toe, which had been painted red. And I was naked, and they gave me this sort of like tiny bit of nylon cloth, because it was the only thing that would stick to the surgical glue. I couldn't sit down, I couldn't really, so they sort of like, I was like walking around this tiny little, it was like so like, I was young, so I didn't give a shit. But I remember hanging off, I'm literally hanging off a diving board, shooting the scene, and it's going on and on and on and on and on. I'm saying to myself, let's never do this again. But it's like you'll see it. It's in there, and I don't know. I had no idea what was going to happen to it. We took it to a certain regard in Cannes, which was just a magic thing to do. It came out, got a little buzz, and then it disappeared. And then Madonna said she liked it. That'll do it.
And here we are. It is an incredible, visually, it is an incredible film. So the context you provided, I think would be really great for everyone seeing it. It's also a great double feature with Queer because if you think that William Lee's self-destructive, George Dyer, your character in this film is very self-destructive. So before we wrap, can you just maybe set up this relationship in the film a little bit?
Well, Bacon was incredibly anti-establishment. He was offered a knighthood over and over again, but he has an Irish background again, and he always refused it. Just said, "No, I'm not taking that." He liked hanging out with. He had a lot. He was an incredibly successful artist. I mean, at the time, I think it was much more uncommon for artists to be that successful in their lifetime. He had a retrospective in Paris. It was like these things are not normal for artists. So he was loaded. So there was a lot of hangers-on around him, just kind of. But he didn't really mind that, and he really liked kind of ordinary people. Like he boxer. He was from the East End of London, I think. There's not a lot of information about him. It was very kind of, it was a relationship. I don't want to give too much away. I mean, basically, he I'll just say Bacon painted a lot of pictures of George Star. Some of his best works of George Star. I don't want to give the plot away. No, I set it up terribly. Here we go again.
Let's let him discover it. Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
In the photo, we're going to take it from here, so let's see how this goes.
You're going to come up and see. I will stand down here. I think this. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you guys want to?
Good present.